Hello, my name is Denis Mishanov and I am staff front engineer on AI framework team. Today, I would like to welcome you to the series of videos on how to experiment with AI at GitLab quicker, easier, and probably a bit more fun. In today's short video, we will see how to evaluate your AI ideas quickly without installing anything on your machine and even without writing any code. Michelle Jill wrote a really good post or walkthrough on how to validate an idea without writing code. And you could consider today's video just the video representation of her post. So thank you, Michelle. To make it more fun, during this video, we will try to evaluate a real thing, a real AI idea. When thinking about the AI Everywhere engineering OKR for this quarter, I've got some idea which I would like to evaluate before I get to real code. I would like to see whether it could yield any benefits, to reasonable benefits, which would justify getting into the code. So I want this evaluation to be quick. I don't want to run any things through the whole GitLab AI machinery, because for experimentation, I prefer build fast, fail fast approach. So I just want to test my hypothesis before it gets implemented in GitLab. Actually, I want to test my hypothesis even before any POC gets created. So let's talk a bit about that feature that we are going to implement, to evaluate today. Most of you probably know that we have Is This Known Slack channel, where people come and ask, is this known that blah, 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 blah. And they ask and then wait for somebody to answer. And sometimes it takes a while to get an answer. And sometimes nobody really knows. So, or maybe people who know, they are just not available at that moment. So at that point, we have two options. First is go on, create an issue, and only to just find out that there are 5 other issues on the matter. Or we abandon our question, we forget about this and just go and carry on with whatever we were doing. So the idea of today's experiment is to see whether AI can make this process more efficient and provide us with quicker and more informative responses. So how do we do that? At GitLab, we have access to 2 providers, Anthropic with Claude models and Google with Vertex AI and in particular Gemini models. Please refer to the documentation on how to obtain access to each of these providers, because getting access is beyond the scope of this video. However, even though we can get access to both of these, probably accessing Google is a bit simpler, just because every member of engineering Google group, and technically all of the engineers should be members of that group, have access to Google models since not so long ago. There was an announcement about this on Slack. So let's dive straight into it. Let's go to the Google Vertex AI console. When you get here, make sure that you are working with AI Enablement Dev project. This is the project which is available for that engineering Google group team members. And this is the project which has all the models available to play with. So first things first, let's just run our is this known type of question straight into this console. And I've picked the following question. Let me make it bigger. Is this known that when working with a file, pressing the keystroke does not move the cursor into Duo Chat? So some of you know that I have slight preference towards Duo Chat. This particular question hints at an issue that we have in the context of Duo Chat implementation in VS Code. There is the issue there where if you work with a file and then click the keystroke to open the Duo Chat, in the side panel. The focus and the chat is already opened. The cursor doesn't focus in the input field of the chat. It's just the UX issue. So let's figure out what happens if we just put this prompt into the console. You can see that we are using Gemini 1.0 Pro model, which is not that fancy 1.5 newest model from Google. Still, it will let us play just sufficiently. Let's try it. We send the prompt, and we have quite lengthy response, which technically suggests some solutions or workarounds of how to fix the thing. But essentially, all of this text means, no, I don't know anything about that. How do we fix that? Or how do we, what is the problem here? So LLMs, large language models, are trained on a really big data set up until a certain point in time, on publicly available data set. And the problem is that when LLM responds to your queries, the scope of information LLM has access to is huge. So as engineers, or anybody technically playing with AI, we have to provide some additional context so that LLM could focus more on the things that really matter for us. And in our particular case, in our particular evaluation, what can serve as such context, which would allow an LLM to make a conclusion whether this issue is known or not. Apparently, the list of open issues in VS Code project, in this particular case, in the VS Code project, would help LLM to decide on that. So what we need to do is just provide the list of the open issues in VS Code. For that, I am going to use Postman, but you can use any CLI tool to fetch data from API. So here I just use the issues API from GitLab. Just read the documentation about this. I specify the project ID, which is the VS Code extension project, and just send it. And I get the list of issues. Okay, let's copy this and go back to our prompt. And now we need to give LLM this context. So we just paste this into the prompt, and then we add our question, just like that, as dirty as it can possibly get. So let's see what happens now. So this is interesting. So it does get some information. It does get some additional information, which is not very useful for us. It even it even tries to talk to me. I don't know. Probably. I'm very sorry. I don't want to offend anybody, so I'm not even going to pretend I know what language this is. So, but what it does is it lists some issues. Truth be told, it has one correct hit. So the issue I'm talking about is 1308. These are irrelevant to Duo Chat. So the LLM tries to speculate, tries to hallucinate, as we call it. And we have to do something about this. Let's try, before we make any conclusions, let's get this. So this is clearly a bit better than just querying the LLM. It gets some GitLab related context. It gets some issues. But let's try another thing. Let's clear this console. Let's remove all the context for this conversation. We put our prompt into the prompt here. But now we will copy the the API output and put it into the system prompt. So what is this system, not system prompt, but system message, excuse me. So system message is the message which accompanies our prompt every single time we query LLM. So instead of putting it into this field every single time, we will just have it as the system prompt. So does it make anything better in this case? Okay. So it is actually better now, a bit better. It still provides some possible workarounds, even though we didn't ask about this, but it clearly points to issue 1308. It still points to some discussions. Just out of curiosity, let's take a look at this issue. Document how we match accounts with Git. This has nothing to do with DoChat, so it's clearly just the hallucination. But if we go to 1308, this is exactly the issue I was hinting at. So Google Modal did some more or less decent job, but I wouldn't say that this is a really good, successful response. So as I said, we have access to two different providers. So let's try with another one, the Anthropic. Again, please do read the documentation to obtain access to this provider if you want to play with it. But here we will do exactly the same thing. So let's try just sending the prompt. Again, you can pick different models. We just pick the Claude 3 Sonnet. So if we just run the prompt, I'm not entirely clear on what you're asking, says Claude model to us. So technically, it's the best guess the LLM could come up with. This is not what we were asking for. So again, let's play with this. Let's copy all the output and do just like we did. Put this into the system prompt, and let's try running this prompt again. We didn't change the prompt, so the prompt is exactly as it used to be. So let's run it now. And since there is a lot of data to process here, LLM takes more time to respond. And yes, the issue appears to be known, and it points to exactly correct issue. It also parses the description of the issue and says how to reproduce the issue, which is really good, which is nice. It's better than what Google gave us. So we are getting closer. But what if we would want this to be straight to the point? So let's just try and play with our prompt and improve it a bit. In case you find a similar issue, respond with an answer following the pattern. Yes, there seems to be similar issue. There are. Oh, okay. There seems to be a similar issue. And then let's make it a bit more like issue title, more markup friendly. And then issue web URL. We know that the parameter we are interested in is called web URL. If we take a look at the data dump we had from our API, it's somewhere there, somewhere. Yes, web URL is the parameter that we are interested in. So let's try to run it this way. While LLM thinks about this, This is technically the way how you design your prompt. The way you give instructions to LLM, the way you design your prompt is very, very specific. It should be, imagine that LLM knows nothing about your content or your intentions. It's not a human being, so you have to be very specific. So after playing a bit with the prompt, we can get really decent results. And then this text, the title, is even linked to the, just because we asked to format it as Markdown, it is linked to the correct issue. At that moment, we can conclude that our evaluation could be completed because yes, we can elevate AI in order to solve problem or help making the process of is this known type of questions more efficient. At this moment, we could conclude that the evaluation is done, the validation of solution is done. We can continue playing with models, we can continue playing with the prompt, we can continue playing with the context information that we give. But in general, the experiment is done. Now we can demo it to our PM, to our EM, to somebody else, and maybe get the approval to go on and work with the prototype. Just think about this. Today's this video covered just in several minutes, excuse me. It would be, seconds would be a bit too fast. So in several minutes, it showed you how you can evaluate your really valid AI idea without writing any code to just understand whether we could get any beneficial results from this. And in this case, I think it's worth investigating further. So with that, we are going to wrap this first video and see you in the second one, where we are going to talk about a bit more code-oriented solution, but still we will be able to do much more and elevate this solution to new heights, still without pulling in the whole GitLab AI machinery, but reduce the context switch and still get really good results. So please stay tuned and see you in the next video. Thank you.